Hello, Tom Crane.
Hi, Josh Widdicombe. How are you?
Welcome to our delve into the correspondence of our listeners, as always.
I love these episodes.
Yeah, so do I.
You get great emails. You do get...
Because it's the least work.
There's that as well.
There is that as well. Well, we can mess around as much as we want. Should we just start with, as always, Correction Corner?
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
Okay, this is from Amy Marie. Please keep explaining things to Tom. That's not a correction. I've just realised I've been mispronouncing bros.
Right.
So has she been pronouncing it as bros? That's presumably what it is, isn't it?
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I can't think of another way. Bros. Yeah, it must be bros. Yeah, it has to be.
So she's thinking they're called bros because they're brothers.
Okay.
It makes total sense.
It's got a cool name.
For when I was working on XFM, as it was known in the day, there was a song out by Wolf Alice. I think it might have been their debut single, actually. And look what's become of them now, 15 years on. That was called Bros, I think. But I think I called it Bros
single,
on air.
That is a great single. Okay, you called it Bros. So you're part of the story of this.
So I'm part of the problem, but the other way. I remember, because you just, to let you in on a secret, you didn't give a effing SH1T about the music when you were on that station. Right. And so you just read out what was coming up. I remember saying, oh, is this Wolf Alice by Bros or Bros by Wolf? And the producer was like, actually, you've made a prat of yourself there. And I thought, well, it's fine because that band's a here today, gone tomorrow act that's not going to stick around. And here we are. And they're on SNL UK.
You called them a flash in the pan on air, didn't you?
A flash in the pan.
It's a bit like when I remember you told me that you thought that the internet wasn't going to take on. I know this is before my time, but you were talking about when it first came out that you had this feeling. Your hunch was that the internet wasn't going to become big.
Well, I saw a thing on Instagram recently that there was an article from 1999 saying that the trend for the internet was over. But there was an article in The Guardian this week, who I think are really struggling for content, saying, is Britain over social media? And I thought, that's just, come on now.
And they tweeted that as well.
Yeah.
So what was your reasoning as to why the internet wouldn't become a hit?
Well, it was shit at the start. Okay. It's a bit like when people now say AI is rubbish, isn't it? Because I put in this and it didn't know, I put in how many Academy Awards has Jack Nicholson won and it got it wrong.
Yes.
And you go, yeah. But they'll iron that out.
Someone will add how many awards Jack Nicholson's won. And it will know that in the future. My mum is a sort of the chief of pronouncing things wrong. The one that she cannot get right is bagels, which she calls.
I thought you were saying my mum is the chief of OpenAI.
Of OpenAI. She's an organist in small church services around the West Country, and her other passion is really pushing AI. Bagels. She calls bagels. That's her thing. Bagels. Would you like a bagel?
Oh, wow.
And for years, we're like, no, they're bagels. But it's always this, do you want a bagel? And the other one is Doctor Who, which she thinks is a question. So it's, she'll say to my kids, do you like Doctor Who? Like that. That's the other thing as well. She's convinced that's a question. Doctor Who?
Oh, yeah.
Like they're trying to work out who this Doctor is.
Do they?
No, they hate it. And they keep telling her that as well. And that also doesn't stick.
Now, this is on Sir Clive Sinclair. Another correction on Sir Clive Sinclair. Hey, was just listening to your podcast. Just saying Ruth Kensett, who he dated, was a cousin, not the sister of Patsy Kensett. It's worth pointing out. That's what we're here for. We want to know where we went wrong. Let us know if we went wrong. Do you know what? There was... I was recording an episode yesterday with Matthew Crosby about, let's plug it because it'll come up in the next few months, the history of MTV.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic.
And I said something and I thought, I'm not sure that sounds true. I'm not sure I've done the proper research there. And I let it go.
Yeah.
So look out for that.
Okay.
There is a stat where I thought, that can't be true. But that is what I've read.
Okay.
So let me in. What I'm saying is I'm leaving them in for you now.
So they have a reason to email in. Because, of course, you'd never really make a mistake, would you?
Exactly. So if I've made a mistake, it must be an intentional trap to check you're listening.
Yeah, exactly.
And congratulations to Alice for noticing that I got the Patsy Kensit sister thing intentionally wrong.
Yeah. It's like when you're playing a board game against your kid and you have to pretend that you haven't just rolled a 6, which just won the game. You just sort of slightly bluff it. Really, in this game of Snakes and Ladders, this game was over 4 rolls ago. That's good of you, Josh, and that's why you're such a great presenter.
Would you like, Tom?
Yes.
One of our favourite topics.
Right.
Old TV shows you've been on.
Great. Love that.
Yeah. Hi, Josh. Loving the podcast. I thought you might enjoy a slightly ridiculous brush with fame from my childhood. I was on the very first episode of Live and Kicking when I was 11 years old. This is more like it.
What a brilliant claim to fame. That's fantastic.
Living up in the Northeast, I somehow managed to win a competition in the Sunderland Echo to be there. This included first-class train tickets. You can get that from the BBC
Very nice.
these days.
Yeah. It's a series budget now, isn't it?
And a hotel stay in London for the weekend. There's no way the BBC's doing that with a Saturday morning show these days. My memories of the weekend are a bit hazy now, but a few things stuck with me. I remember walking into the BBC and seeing hundreds of teenage girls chanting in comically Cockney accents, "We want Take That."
Right.
Do you still get that kind of thing these days? Like, would you get the kind of chanting fans? I know obviously you get the Swifties but they don't seem to lurk outside a hotel as much, do they?
That's interesting.
You don't see footage of kind of Harry Styles being chased down the street. Even like 5 would have been. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think when bands do overseas sort of tours, I sometimes see clips of them like arriving at airports and there's loads of people there. Like if maybe
without wishing to stereotype, I don't think this is stereotyping.
Yeah,
it's a big thing in your East Asia leg of the tour, isn't it? It goes massive in Japan.
Yeah, so I think there's an element of that, and people all dressed up and really excited, sort of Beatlemania feeling as they touch down in Kyoto or whatever.
But you very rarely get it outside the BBC television centre. Although admittedly, I'm usually there on days when they're just filming This Morning and The Last Leg, and you're unlikely to get We Want Dermot. No disrespect to Dermot, obviously, who we all do want.
Have the sort of laws changed? Because there used to be a lot of people sort of camping literally like the garden of the mum's house or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, that surely
Are the police now sort of more on it and said are now starting to say that's not okay?
I don't know. I mean, we're always told how busy the police are these days. Surely they're not going to the garden of Harry Styles' mum to remove camping children.
But if you, let's say, for example, opened the curtains one morning and you looked out and said, "Oh, Rose, look who's in the garden. There's 15 Parenting Hell fans in tents."
Yeah.
You're probably going to mention that. Are you feeling comfortable with that? Or does that feel like a slight invasion of your
police?
Okay.
No, I'd probably try and talk to them first. I'd probably try and deal with the situation myself.
That's fair enough.
Before I called in the SWAT team.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the problem with it is
before you kettle them out of your garden. I'm
going to make a boring but I think right point now. I think
you must.
The fact you've got far more access to them on social media, as long as it carries on, and the internet, God rest its soul, I think means that a lot of those young fans do a lot of their stalking from their own bedrooms now rather than phically. Whether that's better or worse, I will leave for other people to judge.
I think that's really interesting. I think there's also a secondary aspect to that, which is they have far more access to the lives of these people because of social media, the way they cover their own lives, they do videos, whatever. I think maybe a lot of that is being satiated a bit. You're getting to see them getting far more content from them.
Totally.
So maybe that makes you feel you're getting some of that.
So with the inevitable death of social media, it will return, the camping in the garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely.
Okay, Take That guest that day, along with Olympic gold medalist Linford Christie. That is a great opening.
That is a great lineup. Yeah.
That's a superb lineup.
How many kids chanting Linford, Linford, Linford outside?
Yeah, no one. No, Linford Christie just walking straight in the front entrance.
Yeah, absolutely.
At one point, we're asking if any kids had a question for Linford, and the best one would be asked live on the show. My mum had carefully prepped me, or mam as they've written, but I didn't want to adopt a northernism and feel like I was,
And that question was, what do you think about the rise in doping in top-level Olympic sport? And that's from Sally, who's 4 in the front row. Yeah.
My mum had carefully prepped me with a question beforehand, and somehow it was picked. Oh, my word.
Oh, wow.
Seconds away from...
Actually, very, very brief on that. I think the moment you are actually picked, the panic is properly setting in. I think it then becomes a nice idea to... I just don't want this. I just don't need this.
Because also, there's not enough to gain.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, what are you doing? You're asking Linford Christie who his childhood hero was. Do you know what I mean?
Could you run faster than a cheetah? It's that sort of thing, isn't it, when you're a young kid? Yeah, exactly. But you're not really interested in the answer, are you?
No.
Either.
No, exactly.
The 7-year-old doesn't really want that.
The question, you don't care.
The question is, Linford, are you single? Has your mum written this?
Seconds away from going live on national television, the chaperone from the local newspaper sprinted over to me looking slightly conspiratorial.
Right.
Upon finding out I'd been asking a question, she'd phoned the editor.
Conspiratorial. That feels like such a sort of tricky note to give an actor, that, doesn't it? Looking conspiratorial. I'm trying to imagine what that face is.
Tapping the nose and rise the eyebrows.
Exactly.
This is insane what I'm about to read you. Upon finding out I'd been asking the question, she'd phoned her editor, who offered me £50 if I could casually slip the word Sunderland Echo into my question to Linford Christie.
What?
That is absolutely mental.
My question for you, Linford, is do you think anyone will run a 9-second 100-metre Sunderland Echo? How subtly are you dropping that in? I'd like to ask. Sunderland Echo.
You want to know whether she did it or not? Oh, sorry. Do you want to know whether he did it or not? Or
yeah, do I ever?
Shall I just move on? Imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I've got the YouTube clip, Crane.
What?
So would you like it to be revealed with the YouTube video? Is that more fun?
Look, it's not for me to say. This is your show. Whatever you think is best. Actually, let's hear the YouTube. If you've got
it's a minute long. Here we go. Okay. Linford's on one of those fake phones they used to give them. You know, the cordless phone. They'd have to hold up to pretend they were on the phone. Okay, here we go.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Lucy. Right, where's Christopher? You're there. What's your question?
How come, take football, they usually retire when they're about 30, and how come you're 33 and you're, the best?
That's a good question. I think,
There we go, Crane.
So I didn't hear the word Sunderland Echo, unless I missed that.
No, he didn't say it. He didn't say it.
How would you... So the question there is, sprinters normally retire about 30.
No, footballers.
Normally retire around 30. You're 33 at the best. I'm trying to work out how you would slip Sunderland Echo into that.
Well, it's not a million miles from the initial question you suggested, how you're 33 and still the best, is it?
Yeah, it could be this.
Yeah.
Footballers normally retire at 30. I recently read in the Sunderland Echo that you're 33. How are you still the best? There you go. That's 50 quid.
And that's so much money to a kid in 2026. Imagine how much money
it's equivalent to about £400,000 now, isn't it? I'm not very good at this sort of stuff. I think it's basically that, isn't it?
But also...
You buy a house with it.
The editor of the Sunderland Echo...
Yeah.
How much do you think that's going to turn around your sales? Are you going to make your money back?
That's a very good point. What 8-year-old is sat at home going, Mum, they've just mentioned the Sunderland Echo. I must get a copy. That sounds right up my street.
Got info on Linford Christie's age in there.
Also, I don't know if you are, but I'm imagining that the editor has run from Sunderland, by the way, on polling day, where they're sort of trying to get
Yeah.
He's sprinting into the studio, exhausted, really sweaty. Hello, mate. If you can mention the Sunderland Echo, there's 50 quid in it for you, before collapsing on the ground. In the background of the shot, you can see his shoes pointing out from behind him for Christie's seat.
Do let us know if you've had... we'd love to do a feature on any local paper interactions, because they're always fun as a kid.
That's such a great claim to fame, by the way. I absolutely love that. Well done.
Well, do you want another one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Love that.
This is another one from old TV shows you've been on. This is Jess's dad. Dear Josh, one thing to tell you is that my dad was on an episode of You Bet. He identified 25, I think, different runways worldwide by just their line configurations.
Brilliant. What an utterly pointless skill, but I love it.
I know. Some runways are just one line, diagonally or horizontally. He was able to distinguish between the different ones. He won and was presented by his award, and he still has it, by Sally Gunnell. Do you know what? Interestingly, the other gold medalist from Barcelona 92, along with Nympha Christie, he was an airline pilot, so this is why he was able to successfully smash the task. Makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Now it's actually now becoming slightly more useful, to be fair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. This leads to my second memory. He was a private pilot at the start of his career, and he flew, I almost said that's very different.
Yeah, complete that sentence.
He flew many celebs, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God I corrected myself.
How did you get your job as a pilot? Let's not go into it. Including
the Beckhams.
Right.
He also flew Alan Sugar.
Once again, I'm glad it's flu.
No one deserves that.
No one needs that, do they? Oh, God. I've got a question, by the way, about this.
Yeah.
So, as a pilot, do you have to recognise the patterns? Because surely air traffic control will tell you you're going towards the right airport. They don't just go, you'll recognise it. You'll know it's Tokyo by the lines. Don't worry. I don't need to tell you because you'll recognise it.
No, I don't think you do, but I imagine you do it enough that it just,
Yeah, it's a brilliant skill.
I'd have presumed that the lines would be standardised, but that's just me. You know, I don't want to tell them how to do their job.
That's such a good point, yeah. They're not telling the tarmac artist just to express themselves.
Yeah, come on. I want it to feel like Tokyo, so
Bristol Airport was done by Banksy.
Yeah,
so that's just a picture of Tony Blair flipping the bird.
The V's.
Exactly, yeah. That's a great fact that the lines are different. I like that. I will remember that each airport has different lines. I don't know when I bring it up, but it is a good fact.
This is a fact that you'll remember.
Yeah.
This was before Alan Sugar was a lord, and he would call our landline and just say, "Sugar here."
That sounds sort of creepy.
Yeah. My mum would hand the phone to my dad, and they would make arrangements for the pickup and flight times, etc.
That's amazing.
Anyway, thank you for the amazing nostalgic boost we get each week. All the best, Jess.
You'd assume that receptionist that you see on The Apprentice would have sorted that for him.
You would assume that she's too busy with
the person
those,
you briefly see before the contestants go in to find out if they're fired. Why
she's
is he
always
doing
looking at a spreadsheet or a bar chart or something.
She's clearly got time on her hands. Why is Alan doing that? I'm just saying, there has to be a better system, Alan, rather.
Well, you know, he's saving money. So he's a businessman at heart.
Also, any opportunity to use his really snazzy phone that he designed.
Yeah, of course.
So that's
one more person. I know we should move on to a different subject, but I do love these. So one more person who's been on a TV show. Hi, Josh, the museum and pop culture team.
Hello.
My pop culture nerdery as a child carried on and led to a career in television working in the art departments of a lot of comedy, entertainment and drama.
Oh.
This is Caroline. I was completely and utterly obsessed with TV and pop music growing up. Further to discussions in the emails episode about the calling computer games on Live and Kicking. I too was a contestant on one of these games. The game I played was called Duck Hunt. You had to shout up duck, down duck, and so on.
Right, I remember that actually, yeah.
I called up at 6 a.m. every Saturday morning. 01818118181. We all remember that was the phone number that is seared into my brain. On week 5, I was the standby caller for it if they could fit in an extra game. On week 6, I made it to the show.
Wow.
The prize for getting the golden egg was a duck hairdryer. Wow. This overheated and broke after 6 months.
What is a duck hairdryer? It's obviously a hairdryer in the shape of a duck. I do get that. But in a broader sense, what is it and why does it exist?
Oh, I can picture it. The blower, is that what you call it? Is the beak.
Okay, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the head is at the top. The head is like the pivot, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then the neck is the handle.
Oh, neck is the handle. I was imagining there'd be feet down there. But yes, okay, fair enough. Maybe you're right. Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't get us any closer to my original question, which is why does it exist?
Well, yeah, of course. I don't think it was made especially for Live and Kicking. I imagine they bought 10 of them, haven't they? Anyway, either way, it overheated and broke after 6 months. I wanted to win the lowest prize, which was a huge art set. Unfortunately, I got too many points and to my disappointment won some Lego Technic robots. That was always the problem with these shows, wasn't it? You'd only get one prize, and they weren't stratified in the way you'd hope. With Jangling Nerves at the end of the game, I asked Zoe Ball if I could get her and Jamie Theakston's autographs. She said, of course. The autographs never did arrive.
Oh, yeah.
It's clearly that's not on Zoe Ball and Jamie Theakston, I should say. I don't think.
Yeah, I think there's well-intentioned producers there, and it just hasn't come to pass because they're busy.
I think you're giving too much credit to the producers. They've broken a girl's heart here.
Okay.
There is someone that on the Monday morning needs to go, did Zoe and Jamie promise any autographs? Pop this in with a duck hairdryer.
That's a very good point, yeah.
To be honest, it should be good practice to pop in a couple of those signed postcards with every prize, really, shouldn't it?
Get them to knock out about 200 at the beginning of the series.
Exactly.
Shove them in the beak of the duck as you post it off.
Exactly.
Happy child.
Yeah.
Isn't it a bit weird, though, that there was a game on kids' TV where the aim was to kill wildlife? Like, isn't that a sort of like, it's a strange choice, a strange angle.
Well, was it a Nintendo game, Duck Hunt? So they adapted it.
I'm assuming that's what it was, because Duck Hunt was a Nintendo game. It had an actual physical gun that you would point at the TV screen. But it still seems like a strange choice for a kids' TV show. That your aim, is to kill as many animals as you can in the next minute. And if you do, you'll get a hairdryer shaped by one of those. You know?
I thought I would be the talk of my school, but it turns out that when I told my friends on Monday morning, nobody had watched it and nobody cared. Much like the rest of my TV career, she writes. I look forward to future episodes. Thanks, Caroline. I wonder if we've ever worked together, Caroline.
There's a chance, Caroline, knowing how children can be, that some of them had actually watched it and on some level were jealous and didn't really want to admit to it. I would probably say that probably some of them had seen it. I don't know if that's any more comforting, but they're thinking, I don't want to give her a big head. I don't want to show that I care, so I'm just going to claim I didn't watch it. I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
Although really, it's eating me alive.
Yes, totally. I totally agree, actually, on that. It does feel like that would have really done me in if someone I knew at school had got on that.
Exactly.
But not that I ever phoned in.
Yeah. And the truth that you're choosing to accept, Caroline, is that nobody in your year watched Saturday morning kids' TV.
Yeah.
when there was nothing else on, which is fine. But my guess is that some people did watch it and were quite annoyed about the fact that you had that opportunity and that you now have a duck hairdryer. But not the autographs you wanted. Yeah.
But not the autographs you wanted.
Exactly.
Let's return to a topic we return to a lot. I don't think we'll ever shake him off. It's Mr Blobby stories.
Oh, fantastic. Someone stopped me in the street a week ago. This was in Norfolk, actually, to mention the Blobby series. It's sticking around. People are fascinated by that big pink guy, aren't they?
People are fascinated by him. Well, listen to this. Hi, Josh. After finishing uni in 2006, I stayed on in the city and I studied at and worked for a few months before going travelling. Yeah. At the time, I was dating a slightly older lady who worked in finance. You dirty dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And after a few weeks, I went on a cinema date with her at a retail complex on the edge of town.
Slightly less sexy. This is sort of oscillating between hot Mills and Boon novel and just sort of functional diary.
After picking me up one Friday evening, we listened to a brand new iPod Shuffle in a car en route to the cinema. I always thought the iPod Shuffle was a total fucking
it was rubbish.
Why are you forcing me to shuffle? I don't want to shuffle.
Yeah. I had the Shuffle Mini. Is that am I going mad?
I think they were small.
And there was no screen either, so you couldn't see what you were selecting. You just had to it was just mayhem.
Absolute mayhem.
It was basically, the question was, do you want to listen to some music? Just completely unspecific. I'm just going to give you some music and you've got to be happy with that
your
music.
Mood. Yeah. So say you've just received bad news and you want to feel less alone while you're on the bus back, having been sacked in your job. You pop on your iPod Shuffle and you get the Shoop Shoop song by Cher.
I regret using it for my dad's wake, actually, as I was controlling the music. And I Should Be So Lucky came on when I wanted to play Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. But, we live and learn.
You live and learn. To my amazement, in between listening to some new tunes like Amy Winehouse's Rehab and a few tracks by The Feeling, I heard the regular tones of Blobby, Blobby, Blobby. Not just the single, which was released on the Race for Christmas #1, Blobby album tracks.
What?
A grown woman post-millennium had taken the time to either purchase the album or upload the CD to her iTunes.
Sorry, this is his date has done this. This is what we're taking. Yeah, brilliant.
This older woman who works in finance.
Oh, that's amazing.
As it was, the iPod Shuffle, there was no selecting any other tunes or albums. We just kept shuffling, and the Blobby tracks kept coming. Needless to say, I didn't get in contact with her after I got back from my travels. Just before I left, she gave me a CD to listen to on my trip, but I never listened to it in case it was the full Blobby album. Over the last 20 years, on the odd occasion, I've thought what might have been if I'd got back in contact when I've returned after my year away. But your episodes justified my decision. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Simon.
It can only be so bad. You just go, it's a Blobby album. I'll turn it off again. What do you think is going to happen? I couldn't risk it in case it was a Blobby album.
Yeah.
And my head immediately exploded. When I was 14, the only albums I owned were Crowded House Woodface.
Yeah, good album.
And also the Lion King soundtrack. Those are the only two things I owned. Yeah. And I made a mixtape for a girl I liked. And basically it was all Lion King. This is my great music regret. And then I spoke between the songs as well. I recorded it on the tape. Hope you enjoyed that, Annabelle.
Recording on the tape, pretending you had a radio show.
And I sort of lovingly linked between the two in a sort of like vaguely romantic way, and then play the Circle of Life or whatever.
Word.
So I'm
How
not
did it
sure
go
if I can.
down?
It didn't work out. We remained friends. Yeah. Actually, I'd say
she wasn't your girlfriend.
She wasn't my girlfriend. This was sort of an attempt to woo.
Oh, my word.
Tragic, isn't it? Actually, I must have been about 15, I think. Yeah. Oh, do you know what I mean? I was an innocent little child. My point being, I'm not sure if I should judge someone for buying the Blobby album when I was making mixtapes for the Lion King soundtrack for someone.
No, that does make sense. I understand that.
Yeah.
That is a good one, though, if you recorded your own radio shows on cassette or anything you recorded on cassette.
Loved it.
Because I loved doing those. And I loved making compilations.
Brilliant.
Because it was so exciting. It was so thrilling to make a compilation tape.
I'd like to add something to that, Josh, which is the thrilling feeling of recording a song off the radio and timing the record function at the right time, so you wouldn't have the presenter's speech over the beginning and you'd catch the end of it as well. Oh, that was brilliant.
Totally. From Blobby to another legend of the game that we've discussed. Hi, Josh. A couple of small anecdotes about Clive Sinclair. My mother-in-law worked for Sinclair in the late 1970s, early 80s. Her main feedback is that Clive was a ladies' man even then, and Clive and the sales guys used to enjoy regular boozy lunches. I guess we'll never know if squandering the calculated millions on champers and chicken Kievs was the actual downfall of his empire. I've never understood this boozy lunches thing because, I mean, if you're Clive Sinclair, are you really operating at full...
Well, the good thing is, I think, because the C5 isn't technically a car, you can drive it home. So maybe I've got a feeling now that he designed the Sinclair C5 simply because he just gave him a loophole. This is pre-Uber. He was like, I'm having to stagger home from these boozy lunches. It's taking me ages.
Of course.
There must be a way around this. I'm not a fan of a boozy lunch either, simply because if I have anything to drink at lunchtime, I'll be asleep by 2 p.m.
Yeah, I used to work in an office and people would go to the pub at lunch.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked in Waterstones, we'd go to the pub. If you did a late, right, which was, let's give you the specifics, 12:30 till 9, and you get a half hour and an hour break in your day. You take the half hour at about 3 p.m. and then you take the hour from about 5:30 till 6:30 to have your dinner.
Okay,
and a lot of people would go to the pub for that hour, 5:30 to 6:30, have 2 pints.
Wow.
And then you're back in Waterstones from 6:30, not drinking for 2.5 hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's a decision,
experience.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's a decision.
It's not carrying you through.
Also, how are you feeling as a customer as you're speaking to someone who's clearly hammered? Every member of staff is clearly hammered.
Well, they're not hammered, but they've certainly got a spring in their step. Because also, not to be boring about it, but, that ship sailed. The last 2.5 hours, they weren't incredibly busy. So you were mainly shelving. That's what you were doing. You were shelving books, a bit pissed, waiting for 9 p.m. when you could leave.
Were you allowed to have your hour break whenever you wanted?
No. Well, I mean, I would enjoy going into this. So there was 3 shift patterns.
Yeah.
8:30 or 8:15 or something till 5:30 or something, whatever it would be. Okay. And then there was like a normal one, which was like 10 till 6 or 10 till 6:30, I think it was. If you did the early one, you'd have your lunch at about 11 a.m. and then you'd mid-afternoon at about 3 p.m. And the 10 till 6, it'd be like a 1 p.m. lunch and then a 4 p.m. whatever. But you'd have to do it around other people, so you'd have to negotiate.
Got you.
And I remember working with a guy who I didn't like, who thought he was a big deal because he was a grade 4 bookseller and we were only grade 2s.
Okay, right. You were on pamphlets.
At one point, my friend, we were going for a drink afterwards, a few of us. She asked him if he wanted to join us. And he said, you, a grade 2 bookseller, asking me, a grade 4, out for a drink.
So he was the world's biggest loser.
Yeah, but he thought he was incredible.
That's brilliant.
And he used to, when we were both on the early shift, he used to pull rank on me and get first dibs on lunches so that he could take his first. And I used to think, you're a fucking idiot.
Wow.
Delay the gratification.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was like,
an awful
look,
person.
I'm the boss here, so I'm going to have the 10:30. You can have the 11:30. I was like, yeah, fine.
You can have that victory if you want.
Because when you come back, I'm going on lunch, mate.
Yeah. So, because my question was basically going to be whether you could just push on through and then just have your break technically an hour and a half before the end of your shift and you just end early.
No.
Okay,
no.
That would be what I would try and put.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you weren't even allowed hot drinks on the shop floor, so you were only subsuming on water throughout.
Yeah. That doesn't seem harrowing. That's all right. That aspect doesn't worry me too much. But then you're like a 12 tea a day man. So
no. But I meant in terms of squashing your appetite. Okay, you can go, I'll have a couple of coffees. That'll blast me through.
Fine. Do you want to name this person on air now? I'm joking.
No, that wasn't his rule, the waters. That was company policy.
That's company policy.
Do you know what? I respect it. No one wants to spill a latte on a book. Do you know what I mean?
I think you can't have a drink that could stain the page. That's your main thing. That's why you can go water, because it's clear. Give it some time. Let it dry. Stick it back on the shelf.
Do let us know whether the company policy has changed.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking me through your working day.
I know. Well, you asked.
I loved it. It was great. It's fascinating. What a lovely little tangent that was.
We were talking about boozy lunches, weren't we? That's where we got to. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Josh. I know very little about Sinclair until listening to your podcast, but leaderboard golf on the ZX Spectrum gave me one of my favourite but most frustrating memories. We loved the game and would regularly cram 8 people into our box bedroom to play in teams of 2 against each other, as you could only have 4 players at a time. I loved it, but was very young, and my dad would always set the game up for me. Unfortunately, my dad will cheat at any game if he's given the chance. I got quite good at the game, so he started sending me out of the room during the setup. I found out at the age of 5, he was setting me up as a professional and everyone else as a novice to make sure I wouldn't beat him or anyone else. That is wild.
Was your dad, I'm interested, a level 4 bookseller at Waterstones?
That is absolutely wild, isn't it?
So once again, as is my way, this podcast started with explain things for Tom. So he is setting it up so that his son is on a much harder setting than everyone else, so that he would be his son.
5.
This is remarkable. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Because I don't understand this. I remember having this conversation with someone about playing things against your kids. You've said it earlier. You'll always try and lose, right?
Yes. Yeah. We've talked a number of times about hide and seek and that experience of just pretending you haven't noticed them. You just have to do it.
But I was talking to someone and he said he'll play, let's change the sport.
Yeah.
Air hockey against his child, right? And he said he'll always play his best because then when they do get to the level where they beat him, it'll actually mean something.
Okay, when they're a professional air hockey player.
When they're a professional air hockey player.
Bringing between £300 and £400 a year.
Yeah. And also it'll teach them that, you don't just win things, which I think is fucking insane as a parent. Because A, they're at school So they're fully aware that any game they play at school, everyone's trying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's not like this is the only competition they play in.
Yes.
B, beating your parent at sport shouldn't mean something. It should never mean something. It's a pathetic victory. Who cares?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole thing just makes me go, you're an absolute madman.
Is it worth checking the bottom of his email that doesn't say, your kind regards, Tiger Woods? And you realise that this has actually been the genesis story of the world's best ever golfer. And if it wasn't for that decision from my dad, I'd never be where I am today, which is upside down in my car on the hard shoulder.
Exactly. That's the kind of problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I didn't like the David Beckham documentary, which I thought was total dog shit.
Right. I quite enjoyed it, I'll be honest, but yeah, fair enough.
I just thought it was such a puff piece, but his dad comes across as a total...
posh piece, isn't it?
really, really nice.
It sort of works, isn't it? It's on the outskirts of something.
It's on the outskirts of funny.
Thank you. I'll take that. I can see it.
His dad came across as an awful, terrible, pushy dad, and it was terrible to see that man's actions justified.
Yeah. Yes, anyway. I absolutely. But then it clearly instills something.
Yes.
It's a choice, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Yes.
But, you can see, to get to that very top level, I mean, like Luke Littler would go to the pub with his dad every day and just play darts constantly, basically.
I mean, that's a different issue I have with the parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. That is an interesting story, because whenever that's been discussed in interviews, it's always like, oh, so your dad really pushed you, didn't he? Yeah. Which is great considering this. Well, it's not, it's good considering it's worked out. But let's say the darts thing hadn't worked out. You've then basically taken your kid out of school for 10 years to play darts.
Yeah, in a pub.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'd have every right, if the darts hadn't worked out, to say, Dad, I should have had a more formal education. You've really screwed me there.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah. But fair play to him. He's good at the hockey. I don't know much about darts, but I think that's the phrase people use, isn't it?
We've been talking about insured body parts now and again. From Summer West. Hi, Josh. Love the live stream episodes. Can't wait for the next topic. We'll be doing more live stream episodes next month. This month's bonuses are a two-part story on an absolute pop culture disaster that we will release in due course. On the subject of insured body parts, Tom Jones's chest hair was allegedly insured for $7 million. I can't believe that's true. Surely not. So how's he going to lose his chest hair?
A dropped cigarette, maybe?
But then surely it would grow back.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Unless he's planning a tax job where he kind of waxes his chest.
It's a good point about it growing back, because there's an easy 7 million for him there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Just a sort of a light singeing where it's gone, collect your 7 million, wait a couple of months, and you're back again.
Keith Richards had his hand insured for a couple of million. I believe that, yeah.
I like the idea that it's £7 million or $7 million for his chest hair. I'm not convinced by that one, but I like the idea.
Hello, Josh, Michael, and probably Tom or Matthew or Susie. Really loving the podcast. In listening to the latest corrections episode, you mentioned the Big Breakfast and Prince Andrew, which are linked by my granddad. Oh, dear God.
Right. So what was this?
My granddad was a barber. I don't remember us. I don't remember us mentioning the Big Breakfast and Prince Andrew, but quite possibly we did.
But they do feel like things we might have mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah.
My granddad was a barber, so when the Big Breakfast wanted someone to shave Graham Gooch's moustache off,
right,
up stepped my granddad. I didn't know if it was because of Graham talking to Keith Chegwin or the proximity to Danny Bear, but he unfortunately cut Graham Gooch's face live on TV.
Oh.
Oh, no.
That's horrendous.
Somewhere I still have his Monty BB name badge and the Keith Chegwin autograph. For some reason, he didn't think a teenage grandson would want a photo of Danny Bear. But here we go. He was also Prince Andrew's barber. And we have a box of correspondence from him, wedding invite, Christmas cards, etc. These were going to be framed, but now probably best not have them on display.
I wouldn't put them up in the house, I think, probably.
No. And because I can't help myself, the Verve changed their name because of Verve Records, not because of a band called Verve. We have another story coming up next, and it is Prince Andrew related. Not on this podcast, but our next series. I can reveal very excitedly is It's a Royal Knockout, which is obviously an absolute classic event in British popular life. And we will be covering that from next week's episode. So they will be out next week. If you want to hear it early and hear the whole of the series all at once, join the fan club. Plus, there's plenty of extra episodes there, as mentioned above. Finally, let's end with some topic suggestions from listeners, and you can rule on them, Tom.
Great.
From Martin, love the podcast, Pete Waterman Limited and Spice Girls particular highlights. You are no doubt swamped with ideas for future episodes, but I doubt many more multifaceted than John DeLorean. He is already on our list. Don't worry. That is an incredible story.
That's a great show.
It's a credible story.
Very good suggestion.
Love the podcast. I'm sure I heard someone suggest that Art Attack would be a good podcast. However, you considered it too small a subject. So, have you considered the subject of the evolution of art programs on children's television? That gives you Vision On.
Interesting.
A show designed to engage deaf children through Take Heart onto Art Attack. There's a lot more incredible stories in there, not least the creation of Morph by Aardman, just a thought. Glenn Mounsey. And do you know what? He's done well to do the whole email without mentioning Rolf Harris.
Absolutely. I was going to say, when's the wobble board lover coming along?
Yeah, exactly.
And a really problematic man.
And a really dark third episode.
Yeah, which you might want to skip. That's a great idea. I think that's really interesting. I do. I think that could be great.
Hi, Josh and team. Surely there is enough mileage in a series on TFI Friday and Chris Evans. Yes, there is. Consider it done. Owen Gills continued with Billy Piper, Gazza, Jimmy Five Bellies, Big Breakfast with Will, Freak or Unique, people doing stuff to be on TV. Don't forget your toothbrush, the cars, the money. In fact, I'm sure you're already planning this. Owen, we are. And Graham Lamb finally writes, a great Christmas episode will be focusing on Christmas #1 battles.
Oh, that's such a great shout. That's brilliant.
Graham, it's happening. I'm thinking 1973 Wizard versus Slade, 1984 Band-Aid versus Wham, 1987 The Pogues versus the Pet Shop Boys versus Rick Astley, 2009 Rage Against the Machine versus X Factor.
Brilliant.
Great choices. Do email us. We love your emails on the subjects that we've provided, but also on any subject or anything that comes up from the episodes. We'll do another one of these as soon as we can because we love doing them. Thank you very much, Tom.
Absolute joy to be here. Yeah, great emails as always. What a great lot of listeners you have. They're fantastic.
Goodbye.